Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to one of the Hobby Memorial Library and Mayborn Science Theater astronomer, CTC Astronomer Warren Hart's virtual night sky tour. Hey, Warren.
Hey, good to see you.
Hi. Well, you have a ton of things to talk about today, so I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
All right, fine. Uh, One of the things I would like to do is for us to bring up the December calendar right now. And because we didn't get a chance to do that a few weeks ago, but we can bring it up, and there on the first page and the third week, we are on today, the 14th of December. And we're going to find out as we go through. There is the link, if you will, for you to get on the virtual night sky tour presentations that we do. And we're going to see as we go on the rest of the week of this week, we have our moon at its third quarter position. So that means you will see it in the morning when you get up and go out to get the newspaper or you're out for your walk in the morning. And it's in its waning crescent phase, which means it's working toward coming to a new moon that we have there. Also, this coming Saturday on the 17th will be my last actual planetarium presentation in this year, 2022. And as you can see on that page and on that day, I will be talking about the seven constellations for January of next year, 2023. And I have to get into the habit of saying 2023 that we there. Now, I also asked Cindy to bring up the calendar so we can look, if you want to expand it, Cindy, let's look at the second page. And so everyone can see. And what we want to look at on there are there's the sun as it's traveling, it's going into the constellation of Sagittarius. Of course, we can't see that because the sun is there, but it's just information for people that want to keep track of that. And then there is a basic constellation Mesa, and we are unable to see it. It's too far south. But notice a week from today, on the 21st, in the afternoon, is something called the winter solstice. Solstice is Latin, and if you take that word Solstice and break it apart, it's two words, and Sol should give you an idea in Latin what that means in English. And so it's referring, of course, to our sun and the sun, and it's doing something, Stice in Latin. Well, what that means is the sun stands still. And back in the early years before telescopes and things like that, people that kept track of the sun would watch, and it seemed each day at, we'll say at high noon in there, that it was lower in the sky each time, heading toward their southern horizon, and it would slow down as it would go each day, and finally it seemed to just sit there each day for about a week or so, and that would be why they call it the sun stands still. And the midpoint for when it's down there like that would be working out on for our day here on Wednesday the 21st. And at that point of when that is, you notice the next line, that's when we change our season. And so fall will end, or autumn, depending on how you want to refer to it. And then our winter will begin on the 21st. Each year, it's normally on the 21st or the 22nd when this happens. Rare, very rare, sometimes it may be on the late part of the 20th, but primarily the 21st, the 22nd. And we I wanted us to take a look at there also, just as a reminder for you to look in the sky, and we have the big constellation, the primary one for winter, and that is the constellation of Orion. So, Cindy, if you could for us, if you will bring up and let's look at Orion. It is very significant because if you look at the middle part of the page there, and you'll see where the three dots in a row looking, angling up from your lower left up to the upper right, those are we call the belt of Orion. And just above star number 13, Mintaka, that's what it is the equator. So this constellation, Orion, we would call it an equatorial constellation. It straddles the equator, and it's the main constellation for us for winter. And for you to learn to find it in the sky, it's very easy to locate. And then as you would look up above it, there on the left, just a little bit, you'll see in another constellation called Gemini the Twins. Over to the right, there's Taurus the Bull. You come down to the lower right corner, there is Eridanus the River. Then the base of Orion is Lepus the rabbit or the hare. And then there's Canis Major, which actually doesn't touch Orion, but we'll talk about that in just a moment for January. And then coming up, there's Monoceros, which means one horn, the unicorn, if you would. And then we back up to Gemini. The reason I pointed those that go around there on the border to encourage you to look and download the Orion constellation pages there that is on the library guide, and then you can print out and find what the name of the constellations that border Orion, and then look them up and begin expanding your awareness and knowledge and recognizing uh, a larger area of the sky, and go at your own pace and enjoy learning the sky. And as I point out each time, do not let the sky intimidate you. Just go as you have fun learning that part of it there. So there is Orion. And on its final page there is a lot of information about all of those stars and other pieces of information that would be included. So thank you, Cindy. There's that big page talking about all of those stars, and we can see that. And the rabbit is down at his feet, and I'll probably Saturday bring up my winter Christmas story kind of thing and put together a presentation that will include from, let me get, I want to say about 6 to 8 different constellations to help you to learn uh, here at the Orion sky area and enjoy recognizing that. So let's go back to the calendar in December, and there's the rest of the constellations. Tomorrow is Pictor, the painter's easel. Then notice then on Friday the 23rd, we have now our new moon, and then we go on and we're going to have the perigee moon. Remember the path of the moon as it orbits the Earth is a 360-degree circle, but it's not a perfect single radius circle. It is an ellipse or egg shaped. And so there's a time when it's going to be closest to us and another time when it's farthest from us in that orbit. And so this coming Saturday, the 24th, will be at its perigee, and of the 14 perigee times this year, this will be our last, that it will be the fourth closest of all the 14. And there's your information there. And for you to think, if it's closest to us, would it be larger in the sky or smaller in the sky? And I'll leave that up to you. And then we go on in the last week. Then we have uh, Noah's Dove, Columba. We have Auriga, the chariot driver. And if you'll bring that constellation up for us, Cindy, I want to show the people when they look at Auriga, notice there on the left, on the almost looks like the very center line of the constellation, and you would start there. It would be constellations. Let's see. There's 8, 6, and 7. So 6, 7, 8. Notice those three, and uh, they are virtually straight in line pointing to the North Pole in the sky, which also would be pointing toward Polaris. And you can, when you can find that constellation there and uh, follow those three stars, that will help you be another way to find Polaris. So that's a third way or a fourth way. There's a number of different ways that you can do it. Okay, thank you, Cindy, for Auriga. And also that pretty well, let's see, then we have on Thursday next week, on the 29th, Camelopardalis, very dim and up close to the north part of the North Pole in the sky. And then we go from the new moon to our quarter moon, and we finish up then December. So now let's go on to January. And Cindy, if you would bring up for us our January calendar. And there we have our first page. And the sun is, you see, is in Sagittarius. I just mentioned that for you. And also on January the 1st, on New Year's Day, if you will, you see we have a number of how many days until the total solar eclipse. So the first day of each month will give you the number as we continue to count down to it. And then also on that page, on that day, there is Cindy's link to the astronomy library guide. So, Cindy, why don't you take them there? And for anybody that has not done this before, see all the resources that you have put together.
All right. Well, you can find this astronomy study guide on the library's website. You hit research study guides, you find astronomy and Mayborn Science Theater, and that's where we are. And there is our countdown for the eclipse right there. All of our calendars, our constellation maps, books, databases, and much more. So we are all excited and ready to go for
Good.
our January.
Sure. And those constellation pages and the calendar are available on that website there in PDF, so you can
Yes.
download it and put it in your piece on paper and print it out and have it in your hand, and it's free. So we're going to look now at our first week, and if you notice, there's wanted to add this there on Tuesday the 3rd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The moon is going to be less than a degree uh, next to the planet Mars. You should be able to recognize planet Mars because it's going to have a significant color that the other planets do not seem to have. And I'll leave that up to you of what you would think would be the color. Now, it doesn't mean that you can only see it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because the sun's up, but just be aware of it. And that evening, you should still be able to see and find, let the moon point you to that planet, and that is Mars. And then also that same evening, there is a meteor shower, and it says it's the peak of it, and that's the what's called the quadrantid uh, uh, meteors, and uh, easy way you're going to view them throughout the night. The best time to do it, however, is from midnight on to tomorrow morning, the Wednesday morning's time. You can stay up all night if you want, but midnight on Tuesday night and then Wednesday morning you'll have a better opportunity to see the meteor shower. Then we have on Wednesday the 4th, once a year. Now, I mentioned that the moon, as it orbits Earth, is in a circle, but it's more like an ellipse. Well, the same thing applies to us on Earth as we orbit the sun. We do the same thing. We go 360 degrees all the way around the sun, but it's also an ellipse. And here on Wednesday the 4th, we see at 10:17 in the morning is the time of the year when we will be closest to the sun. Now, that's usually a trick question when I ask people. I say that we have a an early, a close time to the sun and a far time from the sun, and we're now coming up on one of those two. And so, which do you think it is? Is it the closest to the sun or the farthest from the sun? And if people haven't uh, paid attention or know about it, they will say, well, it's cold here, so we must be the farthest from the sun for our orbit. But that's completely opposite. And the reason it doesn't seem right that we're so close, but it's still cold, it's because that we're in the northern hemisphere, and in the winter for the solstice, we are tipped away from the sun. And it works out perfectly for those in the southern hemisphere for them because Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and all, they are, that's their summer solstice. And so it will be uh, hot there because they are also tipped facing the sun and would work out that way. All right, let's go on. And then, as we remember from the last part of December, we were new moon. And now, here on Friday the 6th, we're going on around. We've had our quarter moon, and it's going to be at its full location. So we'll have a full moon there. And we have another thing of the moon is going to do. It's going to be just under 2 degrees, and it'll be next to the star Pollux, which is in Gemini, the twins. And Gemini is one of the constellations we're going to look at here in just a moment when it comes up. The second week we have on here, it says our apogee. Remember, we had our near close time for the moon, and here is the far time from the moon. And there that is on Monday the 8th, because of it being the 8th of the month. That means, and there on that Monday the 8th, we have 15 months to go until the total solar eclipse. And there is Gemini, and the first star up there that you see, the twin that's on the right hand side with star number 14, that is Castor, Castor. And then the one lower down, which is the number 17, that one is Pollux. So the moon is going to come by there pretty close. Now you're going to say, Warren, how can it do that? Because the path of the ecliptic for the sun, the moon, and the planets is down low there. Well, actually, the ecliptic is precisely the path of the sun, and the moon and the planets all are orbit in that same uh, region in the sky, but instead of calling it the path of the ecliptic, we call it the uh, area or the region of the ecliptic, because both the moon and the planets are have their orbits. They are not perfectly in line with the sun like we are, and so they will be right going by either above the ecliptic or below the ecliptic. And in this case, the moon is going to be above, so it's going to be real close there within 2 degrees of star 17. So you can see that as we have there. Okay, let's go back to the calendar and let's press on. And we're going to see that we had, let's on this, and I'm catching up with you in January. There it is on Saturday, the star Pollux. And on the second week now, on the 8th, we talked about that with the apogee being the farthest away, and that's the third of 13 apogees for the year of 2023. And then for another thing, in January is when we will have our latest sunrise of the year. And that's for at 7:30 Monday morning on the 9th. And that's what we'll have later on in the summer. We'll have the earliest sunset of the year, but that's in June. Now, going on, our first constellation that we're going to have here to look at is the constellation of Monoceros, and that is Latin. Mono means one, and then Ceratus means nose, horn, or a horn, one horn, and as you see up there, the English name for Monoceros is the unicorn, which also means one horn. or one horn, yeah, horn there. And in relation to where it would be, look to the right, and you see right there with it is Orion. So the unicorn is looking right at Orion, and that will give you a relationship of finding where Monoceros would be. And there's our information. It's also like Orion, you can tell. The Monoceros is an equatorial constellation because it straddles the equator. So there's our first constellation we wanted to talk about. The other one, also on that same day, just happens to be, and we'll bring it up again, Orion. And so here is our Orion, and you get it. You get
Finding it.
you'll find it again
There we
there.
go.
Yeah,
Here we
and
go.
there it is. There's Orion. Look to the left of Orion, and notice there is Monoceros. So that will help you as you begin to learn the sky in relationship one to another. That we it is there. So both Orion and Monoceros are equatorial constellations, and uh, gives you a relationship of how to find them. Okay, let's go back to the calendar, and we're going to follow the moon on Saturday the 14th, and we go from up. You can see up on the above on uh, Friday the 6th was a full moon. It means our next one is on the 14th, and that's the third quarter. And so in January, that's when you would find the moon in the morning that we have there. So that gives you the third quarter phase. Now let's look at our third week of January, and we're going to have another constellation. And here, this one comes up, is Gemini the Twins. Remember, we talked about it a little bit earlier.
I was a little early.
Yeah, which is fine. And the fact that to help you again to find it is that the moon is going to be just less than 2 degrees away from star number 17, the star of Pollux. That's there. So that's another thing for you to consider and search for in the sky. So let's see. What else do we have there? That's it for that day. Let's go back to the calendar, and we're going to have the moon here, another one on Wednesday the 18th. And if you'll expand that page for us there, the first page, Cindy, and let everybody read. It's a little over 2 degrees, just barely, but it's going to be next to the star Antares, which happens to be in the Scorpion. Now, that's going to be a morning time for you to see it. You're not going to see it in, it'll be close to sunrise, and find Antares. Antares is, I would consider, it's the heart of the scorpion. It is red, and it means the rival of Mars. And you think about that for a while, and you see the relationship between the two. Now, Antares will be in our lifetime, unless something else pops up, will be the largest star you will see in the night sky without telescopes or binoculars. It is a giant star. Also in December, in Orion, the upper right shoulder is the star Betelgeuse, and that would be the largest star you will see in the winter time. So Orion is the main constellation for the winter, and here the Scorpion is the main star for the summer and give you some more area of the sky to begin to learn about. Now we continue on the 20th, and we have another constellation called Capricornus, which is the fish goat, or some will say it's the sea, S-E-A, goat. And Cindy, if you'll bring up, and so we'll look at Capricornus there. And
I
here
don't
we
think
go.
I had that one up.
I thought we had it.
No, I could find it real quick for you.
Well, it'll be in
What month?
January.
It would
January.
it's supposed to be in January? Okay. Links. Nope, don't see it. Where else could it be? Let's see. Let's go by alphabetical order.
Okay. See where we have it there. It should be in January for us.
I don't have
You,
it at all.
you don't?
No,
Well, that's my error then that you don't have it. I
it
apologize. I
doesn't
thought,
exist.
well, maybe we just need to put it up in the sky.
Yes,
Okay, I'll send
everybody's gonna
one.
have to go to the dome now to go and see it because
Find it. Yeah. Okay.
we we do not have Capricornus up here.
Well,
Nowhere.
well, okay. I'll make a note, and when we finish up, I'll send you Capricornus then.
Sounds good. It will be
Okay.
uploaded. Right.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, let's continue on and see what else we can find. Actually, that is it won't be in January because it's for the sun entering Capricornus. So uh, we'll go on. All right. We have the new, and on Saturday the 21st, we have our new moon. Uh, Here, and also the perigee. And if you'll notice on the perigee on the 21st, it's listed that this is the closest time the moon will be close to Earth for the year 2023. There are 13 perigees, and this is number one. Not only it's the first one, but it's also going to be the closest. So it's going to be uh, here largest for us to see for the year for the moon. Okay, let's go on down to the second page there on Monday the 23rd, and we're going to have Canis Minor, and we'll look at that. Canis Minor, remember, if you will, for everyone, the main name for each of the 88 constellations is in Latin. So Canis means dog, and Minor means smallest or little. So it is the little dog. And there it is. And there's not a whole lot to it. You have the main star, what is called Procyon, Procyon. And what it means is it is before Sirius. That means it's ahead of Sirius. And Sirius, in relation to Canis Minor, there you see on the page, and you would go down to the south from Canis Minor. You're going to continue on through Monoceros, and then as you pass through Monoceros, then Canis Major, which is Big Dog, shows up. So that's what you have at that time. And notice a little same thing that Canis Minor just barely gets into the southern hemisphere. So just by the uh, slightest amount of area, it is also an equatorial constellation. So that's Canis Minor. let's go on and let's see what we have here in this. And continuing on, Canis Minor. The next one is Pupus, and that's the stern for those in the Navy or knowing boats or ships or whatever. Uh, the stern of the mythical ship of Argo Navis. And Argo Navis used to be long, long time ago was the name of a constellation, and it was very large in the sky. But it was decided back in 1930, at that time period, by the professional astronomers to split it up into separate sections. And so here, this is one part of it. And so we can look. There is Puppis and scrolls so we can see the top line of that, and you'll see that I put in for us each time how to pronounce it. So pupus, and the accent is on the first syllable, pupus, that you have there. Okay, and we can still see all of it because notice down toward the bottom that our southern horizon is still below all of Pupus. So we can see all of it, but we are getting close to the southern part where we're going to begin to lose some ability or sky that we can look at here. So there is Pupus, and in relation to you, you see the upper part of it. Look to the right, and there is the big dog. And kind of up at above the big dog, there's Monoceros. And remember, we just saw the little dog, which would be above Monoceros. So we'll just get familiar with the constellations as we go along. And that Tropic of Capricorn is where the sun is going to be down on for our winter solstice because that's as far south the sun seems to go. And then in the summertime, it comes up for us for the Tropic of Cancer, and that's the farthest north it will come to us, as far as up above in the sky or down low in the sky, as we have here. Okay, so let's go back and we're going to have Pupus. And our what we want to look at next is on Wednesday the 25th. And notice we're going to have our next virtual night sky tour, what we are doing right now. And it's going to be in this format and arrangement with, look over to Saturday, and you see that there is my presentation in the planetarium. And so, starting in January each year, all the way through September, all of those 9 months, that my presentation is on the last Saturday of the month, which means then the uh, virtual night sky tour will be on the Wednesday prior to the last Saturday of the month. It may be not the last Wednesday of the month. In this case, in January, it is, but it for you to remember where it's going to be, find the last Saturday of the month, back up to the Wednesday, and then that's when you will have the virtual night sky tour. Now, also on that, we have in December the constellation of Volans, and that's the flying fish. So let's take a look and see how it gets around. There it is. I guess part of that may be its wings. I don't know. However, a fish flies. or gets thrown around. But notice also up above it is our southern horizon. So anyway, it doesn't matter whether we know whether those are its wings or what, because we cannot see it if we walk outside and look in the sky. It's below our horizon. However, this coming Saturday, I will point it out to you in the planetarium. And notice off to the right in the constellation of Dorado, which was last month, there is this gray area called the LMC, which stands for the Large Magellanic Cloud. That is a galaxy that was not known it was a galaxy, just thought it was a cloud of stars there, but it is an actual galaxy that is beyond our Milky Way galaxy. And this was recorded by the Portuguese captain, pilot, navigator, circumnavigator of the world, Magellan. So, in honor of him, from his logbook, he recorded this, and that's why it's called the Large Magellanic Cloud. And there is another one that would be off this chart here to the down to the right and down a little bit, and there is the Small Magellanic Cloud, and those two are always visible for the people who are far enough south in the southern hemisphere and can see them. So there is Volans. We're about ready to finish up our week, if you will. And let's see what we have. We'll go clear to Saturday, and the moon is continuing on around, and it's going to be at its first quarter. We have again, and then in the afternoon, 5:30 to 6:30 or longer, I will be talking about February's constellation. And for February, it just works out. There's only four of them to talk about, and it will be a. We'll have some more information there. And also on Saturday, the 28th, is one of the constellations, and pretty well the last one for us for January's constellation, Lynx. And of course, that the lynx is the name of a cat, and that's why I said cat. And here it is. Um, I'm not sure how you would make this to look like a cat. I would say maybe that's the trail of the cat as it ran through the snow or a mud puddle. So there you are on this, and notice it gets way up to the north, and it's in the region. Look down at the bottom of it in the orange color. The says our CTC planetarium's latitude. So it's further north. If you looked up in the sky, you would look straight ahead and then looking down a little bit down toward the North Pole, and there would be links going by for us. Okay, last week of January, we go there and we have one last time and one more time, and here is the moon is gone and it's going to be closer. In fact, it'll be very close, and it's going to be just barely 3/10 of a degree next to the planet Mars. Now, if you hold your hand out in front of you at arm's length and hold up your little pinky, your little bitty finger, your little finger there, 1 degree, your across your finger at arm's length is 1 degree. So you'll get an idea of how close the moon is going to be to Mars. It's going to almost looks like, and in some places here on Earth where it might be that the moon could come in front of Mars, and then we would say that the moon occults Mars, OCCULT, as Latin for hidden. So the moon is hiding the planet Mars if you're at a location where that would happen. Otherwise, we'll just see it as it goes by very, very close. And then we will have our first 4 days of the constellation of the month of February. Well, I wanted to run us through there. We're early if you want. Does anyone want us to go back to another constellation that we talked about or something else on the calendar? Or you want to look on the LibGuide for astronomy? Or you have a question? Whatever. We're
Um, are
waiting
there
to
any
hear from you.
questions, Alyssa?
I have no questions right now.
Okay.
Okay.
I actually have a question.
Okay.
When Magellan was, um, out there on the water, and of course there was, you know, just a little tiny fraction of light compared to what we have today. Can you imagine like looking up and being able to see all these constellations just as bright as day? How easy it must have been for him to sit there every night and map out all of these constellations, even
Yes.
to the point of seeing the Magellan Cloud, a
Yeah.
galaxy?
Right. Uh, a story with that. Uh, our daughter, uh, Mary Hart Baylor, brought over a group of high school students from Japan, and they spent, I forgot how long here at over at Mary Hardin Baylor. I want to say a full semester, or maybe it was longer. Anyway, to for them to come and to learn English. And one of the professors that was teaching, Mary Hardin Baylor professor, lived out in the country, and so he invited the whole Japanese class and their sponsors, Japanese adults that went with them, and others, to go out to his place and to have a dinner. And then we went outside and I could point out stuff in the sky. I remember standing out there and was talking, and one of the adult Japanese men came up and was talking, and he said, I have a question. I said, sure, what is it? He said, uh, when are those two clouds, and he pointed over there at them, when are they going to move and get out of the way? And I looked and I said, well, we're going to have to wait for another 4 hours because actually those are two galaxies. And then I explained to him what they were. And he could look at them and he could, in his mind, he called them a cloud. Well, that's what was called back ages ago before telescopes and binoculars. They were called the Large Magellanic Cloud and the Small Magellanic Cloud because that's all they knew how to identify it at the time. And then found out that they were from the Tokyo area, and of course, they can hardly see anything in the night sky, uh, much less than the moon, and that's about it.
Wow. Yeah. I had one experience in an oil field one time looking up and being able to see the Milky Way and everything and satellites up in the sky. So if anybody ever gets a chance to get away from city lights and look up, it's just unbelievable. All of the every star in the constellation that you show us, and it's
And
just
more. And it gets
yeah.
actually with so many stars, it makes it harder to pick out the constellation.
Yes, but we see your maps. We just
Yeah,
gonna hold
well,
your
if you
maps
use
up
the
like
map.
this and try to find them.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, Warren, thank you once again for bringing all this information to us. It's totally magic. And even with the lights in this area, if you stand outside and you try to focus your eyes, you can see a lot of these constellations because they're pretty bright. They're pretty bright
Right,
if you know
right.
where to look. Hmm.
By the way, if anyone is uh, interested in getting out and not driving 60 or 100 miles for dark sky, pretty well the best that I have found uh, going out and that's relatively close. It's on the south shore of uh, what's our other lake to the south of us? I'm having a brain
Stillwell,
blockage. Yeah, it's on the south side. There is a small park area that's managed by the Corps of Engineers, and you can call up and talk to them that you want to go out there that evening. We've done that. I've done that before with a group, and it's primarily used in the daytime by the hobbyists that fly radio controlled airplanes, model airplane kind of things. And so they're not out there at night. And if you call Corps of Engineers, get permission that you're going to be out there, don't call the police on us, etc., you can go out and it is totally dark because there are no lights for that park area, and there is a parking area in where you pull off of the road for it. And from what I remember, there is a gate, so you'd want to watch and make sure you get on out into it. And it's an open field, and that's it. So it's there's still some light from Colleen, of course, but it's not as bad as being on Central Texas College campus.
right. Right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll have to all check that out. So,
Okay.
well, we have managed to do one whole year again of our virtual night sky
Yes,
tours.
indeed.
Yep, and we will be just firing it all back up again in 2023, along with many, many activities we have coming up. We have our military history series where we're going to be having lots and lots of speakers doing their life stories, their veteran life stories. They're going to be speaking virtually, live, live stream like this. They're going to be here at the library, and we're going to have pre-recorded life stories. So we've got that. Plus, we've got a lot of new events coming up in 2023. Everyone, enjoy your winter break, and we will see you next year.
Well,
Right,
I was going
Warren?
to, when I first heard about your military stories, I was thinking, well, gosh, I could tell a story there. And but I decided no, that the story I wanted to tell was not true, so I didn't want to tell you about the time when I, as navigator on a B-52, the pilot had a problem and I had to unstrap and go upstairs and go and get the pilot out of the seat and take control of the B-52, and I landed it myself. But that's not true, so I don't want to tell that story.
Yeah, that's called military fiction.
Oh,
not
yes. Well,
military history.
oh, okay. I'll wait for the time when
Yeah,
you
you
have
hold
that.
that one until we do military fiction.
Very good. Okay.
All right.
Thank you
Well,
very much.
everybody, thank you again, and we'll see you later.
See
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Yes. Merry Christmas.